and I'm going to look straight ahead.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning or afternoon, I guess.
It's afternoon now.
It's morning somewhere. Hawaii? It's still morning in Hawaii.
Yeah, sure.
I'm on Hawaii time.
But you're really not.
But I kind of am.
Oh.
I love you.
Oh, happy Monday, everybody. This is
Welcome back to Cash and Courage.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. That's our new theme song.
That?
Yeah, it's not a song. It's just...
do tell. Here, I want to hear it. Ready?
It's Welcome back to Cash and Courage.
Oh my gosh.
You guys can get it as a ringtone. No, just kidding. Totally teasing with you guys for reals. Welcome back. Happy Monday. We are so excited to be with you talking about boundaries and money today. And you were very adamant that this was the conversation today.
That's what
he just came to me and was like, it is boundaries and money. And I was like, okay.
Did you want to talk about something different?
No, I think it's great. I love it when you get all like, it needs to be boundaries. For them, not for me. Like, I don't like that for me. But
see that eyebrow? I'm like,
he's like, I don't think that's true. No, I do love when you have a really strong opinion because it tells me there's something going on in the world and it's time for us to listen. Because you guys, I'm on this journey with you. Like, I love that it's called Cash and Courage. It's courage because I can help with the courage part. But when it comes to the cash part, this is the guy. And so I'm on the journey with you. And so when he gets really adamant that this is a conversation we need to have, it always is like, ooh, this is something for me to listen up to as well.
Well, I think that comes down to, what does it come down to? I kind of lost my thought. Well, just the conversations I hear, right? I hear a lot about what people are talking about, especially when it comes to money. I read the news, I see what's happening, in pop culture and around the world. And there's a big problem. Well, there's a lot of problems, right? We're just going to start with that.
Let's just get that out of the way. There are a lot of problems, but what we're going to focus on.
That's what we're focused on. The people I interact with, because I think that's the most powerful piece we can look at, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it comes down to boundaries. So this has been something that's been on my mind for
you mean most powerful piece in addition, like outside of looking at self?
Well, yeah.
Because the most powerful place that we can always look is self. But what we see outside of us is often a reflection or can be a reflector of things to look at inside of us. So when we look around and we're like, wow, there's a lot of conversations going on about
boundaries.
That means that that's probably something we need to pay attention to in here as well. So keep going.
Thanks.
I just had to clarify because I was like, let's just clarify that.
My brain was just gone.
No, just keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Anyway, so boundaries. So a lot of people are like, oh, Joe, boundaries. I'm really good at boundaries. And I'm like, really, are you? Like you. Are you good at boundaries, Deb?
No, I'm terrible at boundaries.
You're a bad case then.
I'm better.
I know.
I would say if we were to put me on a scale of 1 to 100.
Okay, let's 1 to 100. Where were you?
I was probably at a good 20%.
Okay, now where are you?
I feel like I'm at an 80%.
Some days, yeah.
On my best days.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle to have my 100% in place. And it does alter based on a few factors. And I think, did we talk about that here last week?
We started to, right? Because we were talking about expectations.
Yeah.
And kind of how expectations and boundaries roll together.
And how for me personally, when somebody pays me money, suddenly I have exceptions to my boundaries. I think that's where I'm really good in some cases, especially if you've paid me. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. You people pay you money and all of a sudden your boundaries.
No, I was thinking, is it true that like if they don't pay me money, then my boundaries are really good. I'm 100%. I don't think that's even true.
No.
Very few relationships I have 100% boundaries with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those relationships are ones in which I believe that no matter what, they have to choose me. So that's like my mom and Joe. I have really, don't I have really good boundaries with you and my mom?
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk about
let's talk about
we're getting ahead of ourselves. So people who are watching, right? So let's talk about boundaries. Like how I identify boundaries are, because there's lots of, let's just say there's lots of people who talk about boundaries. There's some good psychology books on boundaries. There's some really not good books on psychology about boundaries. Like it's all over the board.
Yeah.
Right? But here's how I determine it, because I like talking about how boundaries show us really what's going on with our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And some people would say boundaries, like nobody can step on my boundaries and come in. But what does that mean? Like, are we going to set up like, signs that says, you can't pass this line, and if they pass and then they get like blown up by laser beams?
Sometimes.
Right? Some people.
But energetically, I put up those signs. I do have that.
Yeah.
There's some boundaries I think I'm really good at, like holding no dumping here.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty good at holding that boundary.
So really boundaries to me are those kind of rules we make with how we want to interact with other people and things, objects, right?
And how we're allowing them to interact with us.
Yes.
Okay. It means like when you step into my boundary is my house, right? Whether that's an energetic house or a physical house, when you walk through my door, meaning you step into my world, my bubble, this is how I am okay with you interacting with me.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So here's the next step of that, right? Overall. So the first step is always to like identify what are your boundaries, right? Do you want to allow like everybody have free time access and like money, like all the things to you? Do you want to say, oh, only certain people get full access to me and not? Or are we going to allow like nobody to have access, right? I've seen them all.
Mm-hmm.
People come to me and say, Joe, I have these money problems and, can you help me? And I always talk to people about boundaries because it always is an indication of how you're interacting with relationships, right? Money being one of them, but other people. And a lot of times I see one of two.
Okay.
Right? Want me to share the one?
Yep.
I
share the
see,
two.
These are the common ones. I don't generally run into people with good boundaries. They think they do, and that's the pitfall, right? So they show up and they're like, oh, I have awesome boundaries. I'm like, I ask them about 4 questions, and pretty soon they're like, oh, I have really bad boundaries, don't I? I'm like, yes. You do. Right? So one of two. One is the one where we think we have boundaries because we tell people what we think. That's different. But we allow everybody to have access to us, right? Time,
energy,
mostly time and energy, sometimes money. Sometimes people just like give their money away to everybody. Sometimes love.
Right? If we're looking at the currencies, this person, they may say what they mean, but they still allow people to impact them, people to take from them, time, money, love, energy. Yeah. But
that's like usually persona number 1, right? They just let everybody, unless you're like a complete stranger, they're like, oh no, you don't belong here, right? But like family, kids, co-workers.
Meaning there's an in and there's an out. If you're in, you get all the things. If you're out, you get none of the things.
Yeah. It's all or nothing, right? And then the other one I see is that nobody gets in, right? Nobody at all.
Yeah.
So that would look like, everybody's always like kind of an arm, I'll put my arm length, right? So you're basically, I'm gonna put my hand in here, right? This is how close you get to me all the time, everything, right?
Including close loved ones. We see this in marriages still.
Yeah.
With people who come and still, even with their spouse, they don't feel that close to because everybody is kept at that distance.
All the time. So those are usually the two, and sometimes there's a mix in between, but those are kind of the two. So, first question you ask yourself, how do I allow people like into my life? Am I giving too much? Right? And there's always a story behind it, right? I've worked with plenty of people who's like, but Joe, you just listen, right? I love that when you go in. When we talk about boundaries, they're like, Joe, listen. This is how it has to be because. And I'm like, does it have to be? Like, for reals, does it have to be? Or can it be a little different? So think about that when you're looking at your boundaries overall. What I want you to do really from today's this episode is really to start looking at how you're interacting with other people and how they're interacting back to you, right? Do you pick up the phone no matter what anytime somebody calls?
Do you answer a text no matter what anytime the phone buzzes?
Do you never answer the phone or your texts, right?
Do you bury it?
That. Like, nope, just never, no response, nothing like that. Right? There's these two camps. So figure out where you're at. And then what I'm going to challenge you to do today is just change a couple things about how you're doing it. If you're allowing too many people in, start not answering your phone right away. Let it go to voicemail. Start delaying the time when you're responding to texts.
Mm-hmm.
Start giving yourself a little bit of space from others if you're allowing everybody in, because you're going to feel very drained because of that. The other opposite, right? If you're like this, like 2 hands up there, be like, no. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, no, stay away from me, I would push you, but you fall off your ball.
I would. This morning I would, or today I would.
But anyways, if you're one who pushes away, say, hey, find somebody who's kind of close, you feel like you're pushing away, and go have coffee with them or go have lunch or something.
Find a way to let them in, or at least to identify why you're not allowing them in.
Because I guarantee, right, how we interact with people is how you're interacting with money, right? And
this is the part I was like, let's get to the money.
Well, they have to understand like boundaries.
I know.
Understand your boundaries now. How does that affect money? Because money is just a relationship. So here's the deal. It works kind of I'll just explain it. So type number 1, right, where you're allowing everybody in, it means your money's not sticking around very long because everybody's coming in and taking it, right? You're going to feel like everybody's coming to take it. But what's happening is you're just giving it away, right? So slow that roll, right? As it comes in, be like, who can I bless? But the first person you should bless with your money as it comes in is you, right?
That's not selfish, team. We have a lot of stories about what we can and can't do with money, or if we keep, or, if we keep it, we're selfish. If we give it, we're generous. It's not about that. It's about it's the airplane situation. Like when the oxygen falls from the ceiling, you've got to put your mask on first.
Yep,
so
before anybody else.
As resources, just like oxygen, we need to take that inhale before we can save anybody else's life. Same with your currency, with your money. Is that, are you taking care of the things that you need to take care of? Even wants. I'm going to say that, even wants.
Yeah.
You do not have to, in order for you to be a good person, you do not have to continually empty your glass to prove that you're a good person.
Yeah. Okay, so that's type number 1. Type number 2. What's happening is because you're pushing, remember back to pushing, I'm going to do this because it's very, right? Just remember Joe's hands in your face. But what happens is you're pushing away money like you are the other relationships in your life, right? So go back to like one of the tools I taught like forever ago, right? Get some money and keep it and talk to it, right? Have some sitting. I always share mine, right?
So some ways to
have some sitting and interact with it, right? Because if what continues to happen is you continue to push and push and push, but you allow just enough through that you can live, right? And sometimes it teeters on that edge of being able to like pay your bills and survive and not, right? Because to you, there's lots of reasons why. We're not going to get into that today, but it's a boundary issue.
So something to ask yourself if you're trying to identify what kind of boundaries you hold. Ask yourself, do I feel like money comes in? Because we started from boundaries and went towards money, but you can use it the opposite way. Do you feel like money comes in and goes out just as quickly as it comes in? If that's the case, then you most likely have a boundary that says anybody can come in and take from me. That's the boundary. You're either in or you're out. And if you're out, I probably don't know you. And if I know you, you're probably in, which means you can have access to my time, energy, love, and money anytime that you want. Okay. That's for the person who feels like money, it comes in, but then it goes right back out and you're frustrated. The other person, what it feels like is it's so hard to get money. It's only ever just enough. Like it's not even the like in and out, like the ability to even get it in. You're like, come here, come here, come here. And like
it's always just outside your reach that you're always grasping.
If you're like, I always feel like money's just outside my reach, most likely you have a boundary that pushes everything away. Whether you know it or not, whether you recognize it or not. And this isn't about you being a nice person. This isn't about you being a good person. This isn't about you being an amazing friend, sibling, daughter, parent, son, husband. It's not about that. You can be an amazing, incredible, kind, generous human being and still keep people at arm's length because of fear or other things that are you can do that.
It's all just to do with boundaries. It doesn't have to do with, like Debbie said, the character, who you are, any of that. It's simply the rules at which you're interacting with other people that you've set up. And most of the time, we're not even conscious about it.
Right.
But that's the biggest thing.
We just accept that. Oh well, this is just how it is. This is just what we do to be good people.
Yep. And until you're aware of what your boundaries are, it's really easy to be angry at other people when they violate them.
Or angry at money.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. Because what happens is, where we were at, I lost my train of thought.
You're angry at people because you've been violated.
Oh, because we've subconsciously made like these rules with ourselves around boundaries, and then other people violate them, or we see other people doing different things or say no to us, and we're like, but why would you say no? Like, I do all this stuff for everybody else, right? Well, that's because they have better boundaries than you.
And then we get angry because they're holding their boundaries and we're like, oh, how dare you hold your boundaries? When really we just need to get better at holding ours.
Yep.
That's happened to me on multiple occasions.
Oh yeah, where you're like, oh, this other person.
No, I've done deals with people. Like I'm looking at clients. I always like to go back to my clientele and how this is showing up for me in business, because this happens in life too. But if I'm looking at business, I've done deals for people in business that then I turn around to do work with them, and they hold a much tighter boundary than anything that I've ever done. And I do get mad because I'm like, look what I've done for you. And then I'm like, wait. And you help me remember that, oh, what really happened is I allowed a boundary violation and they're holding true to their boundaries.
Yep.
Right? Boundary violations, it's not up to other people to police our boundaries. It's not for them. The boundary has to be created and policed here. And the better we are at, and what I mean by police is like watching that boundary, holding that boundary, because I don't know about you guys, maybe I should just speak for myself. Something that's like, I'm getting a little mind blown right here is that I think the family in which I was raised taught me that it was my responsibility to be aware of everyone else's boundaries and to not violate their boundaries, spoken or unspoken. You know, obviously we don't violate spoken boundaries, but I think in my family it was like, you've got to understand the unspoken boundary and never cross it.
Yeah.
And so I took upon myself. And so I think there was an expectation that other people would just automatically like read my boundaries, even though I didn't even set them. That they would have that respect for me, but it's not their job.
It's true though, but how many times like are our boundaries predicated off of assumptions from others, right?
Absolutely.
I guess that's a good point to bring up. I totally forgot about that. Like you got to set your boundaries, right? Stop assuming that other people know what they are. I mean, you don't have to like tell everybody, oh, you can't.
You don't have to make a list. But if you don't know, then even energetically, there is no sign posted that they know how to interact.
Yep. Right?
And the way that we start training people is we've got to know what our boundary is first. And then when something happens, we just go, oh, no, I don't make last minute appointments like that. Or I'm not available today. I have an emergency. I'm not available today. I can help you on Saturday. Right? Like, because that's a rule that I've set, is that this time is set aside for this and I'm not available unless like you're literally dying. Right? Those are things that, but if we don't know that, then we don't know how to respond in the moment. We just go, oh yeah, I'll watch your kids, or I'll walk your dog, or I'll do whatever. And then we're frustrated and angry because we actually didn't spend our time the way that we wanted to spend it.
Yep.
Or we didn't spend our money the way we wanted to spend it because we're constantly giving
somebody
it
else
to
is
other
spending
people.
their money some way different way than what you think they should, right? It's not your choice, it's theirs. And simply get better boundaries with how you deal with people and how you mostly deal with yourself, and you allow people in. As you start to do that, you're going to be a happier person overall. Promise.
More joy, more money.
Yeah.
Which tells me when we get off this call, guess what Joe and I are going to be talking about? My boundaries. So, you guys, anything else you want to share today?
Nope. Just take it easy. Just understand. But I think today was just like awareness around boundaries. Like you have them. Don't allow other people to set the boundaries for you. Set your own boundaries for yourself and understand what they are. Because as you understand them, then it gets easier and easier as you interact with people. And you get hurt a lot less, because guess who becomes stronger and more clear with what they want? You do, right? And then you can have the nice no's to other people, and you're not feeling like, oh my gosh, am I like, are they not going to love me anymore? Are they going to like be mad at me? That's up to them, right? You can't control that.
Yeah.
But you can be a kind person, but set the boundaries, because if not, then people run over them, and we tolerate, or we have patience for a while, then we have toleration, and then we get angry. Mm-hmm. It happens every time. I see it a lot. So, just figure out what your boundaries are, and if you don't like them, then set new ones.
Cool.
Anything
if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, no, I thought that was great. I know I have questions, but I get to live with him, so I'll ask those off camera. But if you guys have questions, ask them in the comments below. And I agree. Boundaries are so powerful and impactful. Even going from my 20% to my 80% has made a huge difference. And now I'm just at a new level of trying to move from 80% to 100%, so that in all ways, shapes, and forms, I'm holding my boundaries for myself, for others, and allowing that flow to happen in a positive, healthy way. These are all healthy boundaries.
Yes.
These aren't, if you don't do this, then I'm going to.
Yeah, not ultimatums. Not
ultimatums.
Boundaries. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes,
Come back
thank you.
next week, and I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about something.
Absolutely. I know it has to do with either cash or courage.
Hey, we got this thing going on.
Oh my gosh. You guys, we'll see you next week.
See you, everybody.
Bye.